Hello, good morning, and welcome to Morning Brew on Politics Social. I am Graham Hughes. My name will come up, that'd be good. It is Thursday, the 8th of May, 2025. It's the 80th anniversary of VE Day, and also it is the 99th birthday of Sir David Attenborough. He's been going at it for 99 years. He's got a new movie out about the oceans, which is probably going to be worth checking out. But before we get into all that, I just want to say a big hello to Scott and to Kate Smith and Megan Elite and Veg Pie and Jane Lockwood and Paul Ewan and Leapshin and Alistair Kerr. We've also got Gavin Buck, Alistair Kerr, even. Gavin Buck is in there and all. We've got Gareth T. Sarah Davis, hi everyone, and if you'd like to join our beautiful and awesome friends in the chat, all you need to do is hit that nice juicy subscribe button, wait for a minute, and then you'll be able to opine, but please don't be a troll. Okay, that's one rule. We have a one striking you out policy on this channel. If you want to be one of these little right-wing trolls, trolling the internet, I don't like you fucking liberal, blah, blah, blah. There's a million other sites that you can go to, and you will be surrounded by like-minded morons, okay? We don't tolerate that kind of shit here because, the paradox of tolerance. Talking of the paradox of tolerance, it is, as I said, the 80th anniversary of VE Day today. And I'm just going to jump, straight in to the newspapers because I think this is worth sort of pointing out, I think this is worth having a look at because I find this absolutely intriguing. Check this out. Okay. Is it the 8th today? Is it the 80th anniversary today? Because I'm just going to click on the Independent here so it fills up the screen. Breakthrough. Youth mobility. That's cool. Kashmir crisis. Tensions. I mean, it is news. But is there no space on the front cover to say anything about the 80th anniversary of our defeat of fascism? Is there no space? Iranian terror plot was targeting the Israeli embassy. The news has come out about that. Dogs can be taught, old dogs can be taught new tricks. Okay. As long as they're curious. All migrants will have to be fluent in English. That's what the Times, the Murdoch-owned Times, is going with on VE Day. On the 80th anniversary of VE Day. And I know that they had a bunch of stuff the other day when it was the fly past, the RAF, the Red Arrows down the mall, Buckingham Palace, the family, an excuse to show pictures of the family. But, this is startling to me because I thought that the pomp and ceremony and stuff is usually... It goes hand in hand with the remembrance of the sacrifices that past generations made for our freedom. But here we go. Here's the front cover of the Mail this morning. This is the Mail. Okay, this is the most important news in the Mail. It needs a picture of two sexy lesbians. That's important. The real reason why many middle-aged women are leaving their husbands, ... for a woman. I could say the reason that a lesbian friend of mine once said to me, but I'm not going to because it's too early in the morning and I don't want to get demonetized this early. Anyway, Iranians plotted to attack Israeli embassy in London. I agree, that is news. But what is surprising here is there is absolutely no sign anywhere on that front cover that it's the 80th anniversary of VE Day. Am I going mad? Is this yesterday's news? No, it's Thursday, May the 8th, 2025. Nothing on the front cover at all. Not a VE, and not a Union Jack, not a Skerrick, right? Zoom down on the left-hand side of the page, and we've got an exclusive about somebody called Romeo, the girlfriend, Brooklyn Rift. I don't even know what's even happening here anymore. What is going on? It is VE Day, isn't it? And as I said at the top of the show, it's also David Attenborough's 99th birthday. Are we gonna mark the occasion? Are we gonna mention it at all? Do you think? I mean, of all the newspapers, maybe the Guardian might have reflected on it a little bit. Buy yourself a blueberry muffin, Graham. Thumbs up from Paul. Thank you so much, Paul. That is a really good idea because I can walk down to the co-op and I'll get myself a blueberry muffin. I think I will do that. So thank you very much for giving me the motivation and the money to do that. Let's have a look at The Guardian, right? Here we go. Move over, millennials. You're not cool anymore, it says at the top. A great retelling of the story of art. Okay, cool. Pakistan vows to strike back. Yep, we know that. Farage is the fight of our lives, Labour told. Yes, we shall fucking get the thumb out of the collective arses and do something about it. And the wait goes on at the Vatican. So literally, the main story there, right, with the big picture on the front cover of the Guardian newspaper is that nothing happened. That is the news. They're literally spending that big chunk of the real estate of their front page on the 80th anniversary of VE Day saying nothing happened because no one got chosen to be the Pope yesterday. And you know what? All things being equal, it's fine. It's fine. I get a little bit irritated by the amount of, I don't know, the way we have like War Christmas every year around the beginning of November, where everyone screams at you for not wearing a poppy. And if someone goes on TV and doesn't wear a poppy, oh my God, how dare you not wear a poppy? The same people who for the other 364 days of the year go on and on and on about virtue signaling. Like that's a bad thing. Saying, yeah, I'm a trans ally. Oh yeah, I do care about people in countries in Africa. That's virtue signaling to them. Right? Or even doing runs over to Ukraine, dropping off supplies, picking up refugees. That's virtue signaling. But wearing a poppy for a war that you had nothing to do with, that is somehow not virtue signaling. That's what you have to do by law, by the law of the Gaminati. So yeah, I get it. I get it. It's a bit much. But this is the last time, really, that you're going to have any even if it's just a handful of people who fought in that war who are still alive today. Because if you did fight in the war, you'll be pushing 100 now. And even in 5 years' time, the 85th anniversary, I mean, not many people live past 100. It's quite unusual. And so, yeah, it just seems a little bit bizarre. Now, I will also go to the papers that did cover VE Day because I think it's quite poignant, especially what the Mirror's done today. But before I do, I just want to go to the papers that didn't cover it in any way, shape, or form. Alistair, thanks, Alistair, for the £5 super chat. Fun seeing it might get demonetized. Thank you, Alistair. If you want to know the real reason why women leave men for other women, it's because a thing that lesbians use. How can I put this in a delicate way? It doesn't go soft. All night. Okay, back to the chat. All these men in the chat. Graham, shut up. Don't tell them. Back to the papers. Okay, so there's an advert on the front cover of the Metro. It's a free newspaper, so what you expect. But then there's this story here about Liam Payne, who was in One Direction, who died tragically in Argentina a few months ago. And he's left money to his son. And like, in a normal day, I'd be like, yeah, sure. Why not put that on the front cover? I guess it's kind of news, celeb news, whatever. But like, there's nothing on the front cover here to say it's the 80th anniversary of VE Day. There's nothing there. It's just, is it just me, or have I got the wrong day? Have I got, is this just a normal day? Is this just a normal everyday day? Well, there were at least 3 newspapers that covered it. We had the Daily Star of all papers. Like the Star, which is the newspaper that you normally expect for the daftest headlines ever, has Never Forget. It'd have a souvenir edition, Okay, cool. That's pretty good of the Daily Star. I'll give it that. It's got the statue of Churchill hunched over with the Union flag shown on the Elizabeth Tower. Thanks, everyone. Back on the quiz team. And also the Daily Express, give them their due. Homes were ruined, people had died, but there was a sense of hope in our small community. People knew there were better days ahead. So this is an interview with a little girl who's holding the flag there, and now she's 81 years old. Recalls proudly waving Union Jack with friend Janine Libby amidst the the London rubble. So yeah, she was one. She was one. She's pretty developed for one, but there you go. Her friend, unfortunately, I have to say, her friend Jeannie, that she's holding the flag up. It's not her fault. It's not her fault. First of all, she's only a child, but she is holding that flag upside down. Like the flag has been put on the stick that she's been given on the flagpole. It's on the mast, on the staff, whatever it's called. Right, it's upside down. That's upside. Her little friend, the 1-year-old, there. She's got it the right way up, but that one, no. Sorry. Try again. Sorry, I'm just being cruel. No, I'm just joking. It's fine. You can hold the flag any way you want. The Financial Times didn't cover the fact that it's the 80th anniversary of V-Day, which I understand. I completely get that because it's the Financial Times. You know, why do they care? But the other papers, it is very telling that there's only a handful of papers who actually even mention it. But the kudos to the Daily Mirror for sharing this particular picture, but I think is really pertinent right now, okay? So this is a cartoon from 1945 with a soldier obviously injured, his hand is all bandaged up, victory and peace in Europe, and he says at the bottom, here you are, don't lose it again. And for me, that is, you know, that's where we are right now. That's what should have been some kind of version of this should have been on the front covers of every single newspaper. But here's the question. Why wasn't it? Like, why wasn't it on the newspapers, on the front cover of every newspaper? Well, let's get into it. But first, I'll read some of your chat. Morning, Plum, says Captain. Of course, you'll expect a national paper to know the difference between a Union Jack and a Union flag. Well, I know. I tend to let that one slide because I like the name Union Jack. It makes it sound like it's, you know, Union Jack, it sounds like a superhero from the UK who has a British bulldog who goes around, I don't know, Morris dancing at people, dressed like a twat. Morris, his real name is Morris. But when he eats a banana, he becomes Union Jack. I'm pretty sure that's already been done in something by Alan Moore. I'm pretty sure that exists already. But yeah, I like the name Union Jack. It's like, the Star Spangled Banner. I mean, spangled is a funny word. But, I mean, it's the Stars and Stripes. It's the American flag. It's the Star Spangled Banner. I mean, they got different names for it. I don't really have a problem, If people want to call it a Union Jack, let them. You don't have to tell them that it's not a jack unless it's flown from a jack staff on a ship, Anyways, moving on. Okay, just remembered, I need to contact Ivan Ambrose. Hope he's okay about his petition. The House of Lords invited me to comment, and I don't know what to say. Anne, can you get in touch with me, Anne? And I'll put you in touch with Ivan. If you go to GrahamDavidHughes.com and fill in the form at the bottom of the page and give me some contact details for you, I'll get Ivan to get in touch with you if he's not watching. If you are watching, hi Ivan. Okay, so victory in Europe, not victory over Europe, right? Because we didn't win, we didn't beat Europe, we beat the Nazis, we beat the Fash. It marked the official surrender of Nazi Germany at the end of World War II after Hitler's death a couple of days earlier. And it was a key moment of the 20th century, a day when fascism was defeated and democracy reaffirmed itself across much of Europe. Not all of Europe, but much of Europe. It was celebrated in the UK with street parties, mass rejoicing, and a hope for a peaceful post-war future, Churchill made his famous address, which was read out again by Timothy Spall at the beginning of the week. V-Day has since become symbolic of the defeat of fascism and a warning never to let it rise again. But today, fascism is on the rise. Let's make no mistake about it. The far right are emboldened, they are mainstreamed, and they are winning electorally, culturally, and economically. The richest people in the world at the moment are all fash. Zuckerberg, fash. Murdoch, fash. Musk, fash. Bezos, fash. If you get that list of the 100 richest people in the world, the majority of them are total fash. They would love to grind the human spirit to dust. Weirdly, that's what makes them happy. I don't know why. But here's the thing, the billionaire press, most tellingly, the Mail of all papers, just silent on VE Day on the front covers. I'm sure they might have stuff inside the papers, like a pull-out special or something. But they seem like a golden opportunity to interview a few old people who've, lived through the war, remember VE Day, can tell a funny story about the Queen going out on the tiles on VE Day, because, why not, with her sister Margaret, and they danced on tables and picked up some sailors. Okay, cool, youthful exuberance. I'm just surprised that they're going, no, we need to hear about the fact that Brooklyn Beckham is dating some girl and Romeo Beckham doesn't like her or something. I don't know. I know that what's happening in India and Pakistan and Kashmir is I mean, it's awful right now. And it is a bit tense. I do think that if things were going to kick off really badly, they would have done by now. I think there's a bit of tit for tat. Hopefully it'll simmer down. I mean, look, I can't talk on behalf of the Pakistani government or the Indian government or in any way, but I should imagine that both of them have got bigger fish to fry right now than getting into this ridiculous border skirmish over a line of control that's been in place now for, nearly 80 years. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. Well, I suppose it wasn't codified until the end of the 40s, so let's maybe say 75 years. The fact that there was no VE Day message on the front of the Mail, owned by the Rothermeres, fascists. The Times, owned by Murdoch, fascist. The Telegraph did mention it, and I use that website because it doesn't have the Sun on it, so I don't know what the Sun did on its front cover. I don't really care. But, these outlets would normally milk VE Day nostalgia for all it's worth, but not this year. Not this year. They did when it was 75. They did when it was 70. They did it when it was 60. I remember. They did it when it was 50. I remember 1995. I remember it. Like, that's how old I am. I'm really old. And that is quite remarkable. SG, led by Donkey's new video, World War II veteran Ken, 98. We've crushed fascism before and we'll crush it again. Thank you so much for the super chat. And yes, I was actually thinking of showing you that. Do you want me to find that video before the end of the show? I'll tell you what, right? I'll do a goal, right? And we'll do 10 super chats, any color. And if we get that before in 30 minutes, I'll show the new led by Donkeys vid. Okay, there you go. So yeah, we'll start that goal there. So I'll dig it out. I'll dig it out for you and show it for your viewing pleasure. I do realise, I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but me here, Graham here, I'm not quite in the middle. There you go. That's better. Whew. My OCD alarm was ringing there. I was like, oh, it's a little bit, the band at the top was a bit bigger than the white band at the bottom. See, I care about this kind of shit. Details, my friends, details. So yeah, well, on Monday, the royal photo ops were everywhere at the RAF fly past and the Windsors smiling at the balcony. But today, nothing. And this is my hypothesis. I think that their readership are uncomfortable being reminded, or the people who own the newspapers are uncomfortable reminding their readership of what fascism actually looked like. It would make the likes of Trump and Farage and Musk harder to defend. They can't glorify like the anti-fascist fight of World War II while also platforming today's fascist-adjacent leaders, really, can they? And billionaire owners like Murdoch and Rothermere have always sided with the right. Their interests now align more with authoritarianism than democracy. Everyone's throwing £1 super chats in here now. Thanks very much to Alistair for the £3 in super chat so far. And also thanks very much to Amy Walker there for the £1 super chat. That's very kind of you. maybe I should have made it not all the colours. No, it's fine. So yeah, like I say, that their interests, like Murdoch and Rothermere, their interests have always sided with the far right, and their interests like now align more with authoritarianism than they do with democracy. Clearly, Elon Musk, throwing us 2 Nazi salutes behind the seal of the the president of the United States in January. I mean, that is just horrific. And the guy running around with a chainsaw, a literal chainsaw, trying to take money off the poorest people in America. But actually, the poorest people around the world, taking them, defunding USAs, defunding PBS, defunding healthcare and free school meals for the poorest in America. Makes mad, doesn't it? Makes mad. Sean, thank you very much for the £1 super chat, my friend. That's very kind of you. And also, SG, it makes us feel special when you care about the framing, Graham. Thank you, SG. I'm glad I made you feel special this morning. I care. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, so, Musk, who has promoted white nationalist accounts, reinstated fascist voices on Twitter. He now occupies this quasi-government role. We don't know what he's doing with it at the moment. I mean, he gave a Sieg Heil. He gave a Sieg Heil. And he said, no, I was throwing my love out to the crowd. Actually, I don't think he even defended it. Did he defend it himself, or did other people defend it on his behalf? I can't remember. Yeah. The only reason Trump hasn't done the salute yet is he can't lift his arm. And also make his little tiny hands look even tinier. Little tiny hands. Oh, he's never gonna play the piano with those little tiny hands. It'd be good if he meets King Charles, and King Charles, sausage fingers. King Charles has got the hands of like the mountain from Game of Thrones, and King Charles shakes his hand. I don't think he can shake the hand of the monarch, but like he shakes it, he just crushes. He just crushes. His hand keeps shaking. Remember Banzai? Remember the ITV Channel 4 show Banzai, where they had Mr. Shaky Hands, and he would go up and shake a celebrity's hand, and you had to guess how long they could shake the hand for. Just crush it. Just crush it, Charlie. Crush it. Oh, that would be great. Anyway, crush it with your sausage fingers. I want that ballot when we all go to protest against Trump coming to the UK. Right? I want a banner and it says, crush him with your sausage fingers, Charlie. Come on, it's got to be done. Someone write that down. Pygmalion, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. That's very kind of you. And badgers and ponies, My Little Ponies. That's very nice of you. Anyway, so Trump's gulags in El Salvador signed a bilateral deal with El Salvador to detain migrants and domestic extremists. This is the homegrown, so which he's talking about. This is taking U.S. citizens and putting them in a what can only be described as a gulag or maybe possibly a concentration camp or a death camp even in El Salvador. Without due process, my friends. And this is really, really disturbing. This is not just an echo of an authoritarian regime. This is an authoritarian regime. This is what they do. The outsourcing of repression and the abandonment of habeas corpus, show us the body, which is a law in every democracy around the world that if you are arrested for something, they have to tell you what you've been arrested for, and they have to read you your rights. Did see something quite interesting about the fact that over here we have, you have the right to remain silent and all that kind of stuff, right? Read out to you when you're arrested. It doesn't have to be when you're actually carted into the back of the paddy wagon. It can be said at the police station. But apparently Luigi Mangione wasn't read his Miranda. They call it Miranda rights in the States. He wasn't read his Miranda rights when they caught him in the Mackie D's. And also, here's something else. There's a thing in America, double jeopardy. You can't be tried for the same crime twice. And because he's being tried at a state level and at a federal level, they're arguing like he's being tried for the same crime twice here. It should be interesting because if the police have mucked this up, he could walk free on a technicality like Freddy Krueger. Wouldn't that be interesting? And that would scare the living bejesus out of the billionaires, out of those CEOs, I guess. And Nigel Farage, God, I hate talking about him. I hate thinking about him. I hate him just occupying any room in my head whatsoever. I just wish he would just stop. I would be a, you know what? If from today onwards I never had to see his face again, I'd lead a very happy life. And people ask me, as on my deathbed, my dying breath, I'd be like, do you know what the best thing about my life was? All the cool shit I did. It wasn't the fact that I didn't see the face of Nigel Farage for 50 years. No, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. But, I'd be part of it. Be a little part of it. And yeah, he's framed himself as the British Trump. He lies freely. He scapegoats migrants. He stokes hatred towards minorities. He does exactly what Trump does. And we have to link in with Trump because Trump is deliciously unpopular in this country. Like, people hate Trump. Even Tories hate Trump. And we need to link Farage and his failures with Trump. Farage, the reason why the economy is in the state it is, the reason why the Tories had to cut back on everything and get shit trade deals, and why Labour are continuing that now and getting shit trade deals, and because we can't get the really good trade deal worth 400 times more with the EU, so we have to deal with this crappy trade deal that we get with other countries which are far away and poor and don't really have the money or the will or the the ability to ship goods over to them. I mean, yeah, woo, might be good for our service industry, but that's about it. That's about it. Amy Walker, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. That's very kind of you. Maybe it was not intentional not reading his. Maybe it was intentional not reading his rights. It might be, but it could collapse the case if that's proven. I don't know if it will be. It might just be a rumor. But if he wasn't, it could really prejudice the case. And also the fact that they did like the pimp walk thing with him when they caught him, and they had all like the police, like it made him look really cool. Actually, they were trying to make him look like this terrible, terrible person who'd done a terrible thing and should definitely not encourage anybody else to do that terrible thing. And make no mistake, what he did, or what he allegedly did, is absolutely terrible. Like, I do not agree with the death penalty for anyone, for anything. Anything. I would quite like to see some people not with us anymore, fine. But I don't think that it should be up to individuals or the state to decide that. That's just the way I feel about the death penalty, which they have in the US. So if the state says it's okay in the US, I guess it's okay in the US. If they're going to let Carl Shittenhouse get away with going to another state and shooting dead 2 people, then with an AR-15, like, if they're going to let him get away with it, then obviously America's not a very safe place. We've been saying that for a long time. Back to Farage for a moment. Unfortunately, I'll move on very quickly, but I just want to say, this is a privately educated former. I don't want to say city banker because I don't think he ever rose that far, but he worked in the city for his uncle's fucking twat firm. What are they called? Like a vulture capitalist firm or something like that. And he poses as a man of the people who goes on the Boxing Day hunt, like a proper hunt. And what unites Elon Musk and Donald Trump and Farage is a contempt for democracy, a contempt for rule of law, the truth, and human rights. They hate human rights. They don't want humans to have rights. Trump was asked last weekend if it's his job to uphold the Constitution. And he went, I don't know. This is the guy who swore an oath in January, all those months ago now. In January, he swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America on the Bible. He swore. And then he's been interviewed. Do you have to do that thing that you swore to do? And he says, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. Classic traits of fascism: personality cults, propaganda, racism, xenophobia, homophobia, transphobia, performative masculinity, performative cruelty, and violence. This is what we fought against in World War II. I say we. I mean, I'm not saying that to mean British or English or Scouse. I'm saying it to mean people who don't like fascism. People who won't abide fascism. Like you, like me. We fought against it. I'd like to think many of us would do that again. And many of us are doing it again, even by something as simple as spreading the word, getting the message out, having these conversations that aren't happening in the alt-right bloody pipeline, where it's all about going to the gym, taking steroids, making you really, really small, I guess, that happens, moaning about women not wanting to go out with you. These people reading the mail going, oh, my wife left me. Oh, it must be because she's a lesbian. Yeah, mate. That's why. It's not because you're a total dick and you didn't treat her very well. It's always someone else's fault. I was thinking about that, like how these narcissists, they never, ever, ever admit they were wrong. And it's painful. It's painful to see when you're on the outside of it and you're like, what? Why can't you just say, yeah, I fucked up. Yeah, that was a mistake. Well, they know why they can't say that, because they'll lose a huge chunk of their votes. There are some people out there who just love a narcissist. I assume they're the same people who write love letters to serial killers in jail. The broken people who fall in love with narcissists because they're like, oh, I love the way he bosses me around. I love the way he tells me what to do. God, heaven forfend, I'd have to think for myself. I love the way he does all my thinking for me. So, I mean, why won't... What, I am a bit gobsmacked, actually, by the newspapers today. I'm not being facetious about this. I genuinely am, like, a bit weirded out by the fact that it hasn't been mentioned on so many newspapers. I mean, maybe one or two, but, like, there's only, like, 3 newspapers that bothered mentioning it. There's a banner at the top of the Daily Telegraph today, but that's not it. And you know, they know what happened last time, and they see it happening again. In 1945, fascism was defeated by working people, trade unions, resistance fighters, Jews, socialists, communists, and anti-imperialists working together. Today's elites don't want to remember that. They because they're on the other side this time. I think they're genuinely sad that the Nazis didn't win. I think they genuinely believe, at least the people working for these newspapers who all went to private school together, or the people who own these newspapers who are millionaires, billionaires, I think they feel like the wrong side, the wrong side won. Isn't that disturbing? Isn't that like a real worry that these newspaper barons have so much power? And Labour are sitting on a 200-seat majority and not actually addressing this problem, not going for Leveson 2, not reining in the power of the press, to just lie to the people of this country willy-nilly. Not trying to rein in the social media giants either. Talking of giants, just a huge, huge super chat from Ori, so I'm going to come to that in a moment. But first of all, thank you very much to Charlie. Police fuck ups, RIP, Jean-Charles Menendez. That was 20 years ago, wasn't it? It was 20 years ago. It was 2005, wasn't it? That happened. And who was in charge of that operation? Cressida Dick. One of the worst police commissioners of all time for the Met. And also privately educated, of course. Paul Ewan, the We Want Ken Fund. Thanks very much to Paul. And we have actually made it to our what's it called? To our goal. But I've before we go on, thank you so much to Ori for the mega chat. £50 mega chat from Ori. Thank you so much. That's really kind of you. Just as an anecdote to show how normalised fascism has become, during the summer riots last year, my family kept saying that the people smashing up the streets weren't really far right and got angry at me for saying that normal people don't do that. Yeah. Ori, thank you so much for the mega chat. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Like, people have normalised fascism. The Overton window has swung violently to the right. And this is the issue that I have with Labour talking about migration so much, is because it doesn't fight against Farage and his lies. What it does is it empowers them, because it keeps moving that Overton window, the window of political acceptability. It keeps moving them towards Farage. And I would much rather they didn't do that. So there are also, I'll just go back to the front covers for the moment. The celebrity gossip, the Beckhams, One Direction, squabbles over the estate of Liam Payne, migrant bashing, dog whistle headlines. They want people focused on soap opera culture wars, not structural threats to democracy. And today should be a day of reflection. Monday was a day of celebration, but I think that today should be a day of somber reflection. But it's not. It's not even being mentioned on the front pages of many of the newspapers. Look at the historical parallels with the 1930s and today. Economic instability, scapegoating of minorities, weak centralist resistance, and media collusion. Fascists didn't take power by force. They were elected, legitimized, and welcomed by the business elite. Whereas Hitler never actually won an election, he did win a majority of the minority of the election in 1933. And through political maneuvering, he got himself made Führer, made himself Chancellor, and then turned himself into the Führer. They had referendums in Germany in the 1930s, and it was like, do you want to annex Austria? And it was like, yeah, it was like a big circle, and 9 was like a little tiny circle. And people watched you when you voted to make sure you voted the right way. Yay, democracy. But who enabled Hitler? This is a really important thing that we have to look at. Hitler didn't arise out of nowhere. He was enabled. He was enabled by the industrialists, by the landowners, the media moguls of the day. Hitler was touted as this bulwark against socialism, against communism. And the UK press and aristocracy had its own fascist sympathisers. We can't forget the Daily Mail's infamous hurrah for the black shirts, support for the BUF, the British Union of Fascists, and Oswald Mosley, another privately educated toff who wanted to destroy everything that was good and nice for the working people of this country, because why wouldn't they want to destroy it? They're scumbags who were born rich and they're bored. I tell you what, the reason why the human race will die out eventually is because of boredom, because people just didn't have enough stuff. They had a magic box in their pocket that could lead them to read every book ever published anywhere in the world ever, and they choose to spend their time picking on minorities. A magic box that allows them to watch everything that's ever been filmed on a canvas into the dawn of time, and they pick on minorities. My God, how can anyone be bored? How can anyone be bored in this day and age? Bored enough to just pick on a minority? And look, the real anti-fascism. Don't forget, Trump goes on about Antifa all the time. Antifa, which stands for anti-fascist. Like that what that group stands for is against fascism. And he complains about them because they're anti-him. Of course they're anti-him because he's a fascist. Anti-fascism was about solidarity. It was about sacrifice, resistance, not flag-waving jingoism. And the newspapers don't want to look at that because they know that their readers don't want to be made to feel uncomfortable. The far right now co-ops World War II iconography while promoting policies that would have been right at home in 1930s Berlin. That's just a fact. Can't argue with it. So let's remember what VE Day was about. Not nostalgia, not nationalism. This went across national borders. The whole Commonwealth was involved. Dozens and dozens of countries, and dozens and dozens of countries, and hundreds of thousands of people died. Dozens of countries fought against the Nazis, and millions died fighting them. Millions died fighting them. It was about resistance, not nostalgia, not nationalism. Resistance. It was about saying no to fascism. Not once, but every time it rears its ugly little head. And we speak out, we organise, we resist. We do that against Trump, against Brexit, against Musk, against Farage, and against those cowardly billionaires out there who are not just letting this happen, but encouraging the rise of fascism around the world. And we have to stand there like motherfucking Gandalf on the bridge of Khazad-dûm. Slam down your staff and say, "You shall not pass." That's what I say. I've got a pen, not as good as the staff. Let's say it. This is not a drill, you know? This is a time for people to choose what side of history they want to be on. And we need to have these conversations with the people in our lives, like who Ori alluded to earlier, who have fallen for it, have fallen for this bullshit that all their problems in their life are caused by migrants or trans women. We need to get them back. We need to retrieve what's left of their sanity. We need to rescue them from the jaws of fascism, because that way, death and destruction lie. And it's not too late. And look, even if the worst comes to the worst, the world will still truck on. People will survive. People will rebuild. But I just don't want our kids to go through it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's people out there who want Armageddon. They want civil war. They want strife. They want people to be signed up to go and shoot for strangers they don't even know. They might be friends with in another life. They want to shoot across the battlefield. They want cities to be bombed. They want women and children huddled in their basements, fearing for their life. They want that. Don't know why anyone would want that, but they do. They do. But even if that happens, which I don't think it will, I don't think we'll ever get that far. That's the optimist in me. Even if we do, fascism never wins, because it requires keeping all the people down all the time. And it just can't, because what it does is it makes everyone who works for the state apparatus, it makes them a target. Everyone who's working for the state consistently, constantly looking over their shoulder. And you might be able to do that in a place like North Korea that's never known any difference. But you try and pull that shit in a country where people remember the way it used to be before the fash came and ruined everything. I don't think you're going to get very far, because the resistance will form. Of course, resistance will form. And they'll find clever ways to disrupt the system as much as humanly possible. Whereas with democracy, we have these like pressure valves. We have these elections, even referenda, that allow people to have their say, even in a small way. You set up a system that doesn't allow anyone to have their say, doesn't allow anyone to have agency over their own lives, and people kick back. They'll always kick back. That's why fascism always failed. It's a failed experiment. It's always a failed experiment. It always fails. Every time throughout history, it has been tried. And my God, it's been tried a lot of times in history. It just doesn't work. Do you know what works? Democracy. It's shonky. It's not perfect. There's lots of different flavors of democracy. But it works a lot better than autocracy. It really, really does. Trump will get his birthday parade. Oh, Jesus. Ori says, I'm trying with my family. Jesus Christ, it's frustrating. I'm sorry to hear that, Ori. My dad, as many of you know who watch this channel, my dad suffers from dementia, but before he got really ill, we would have huge political rows, and I would be having rows with him right now about Brexit, about Farage, and it's a bit of a small mercy that we don't have those rows anymore. My mum and her side of the family, on the other hand, who come from a more working class area of Liverpool, they're all very left wing. I mean, some of them are more left wing than I am, and I find that one of the things that drives you up the wall when you have these posh fascists like Farage and Tice and Andy Wigmore and Aaron Banks, all privately educated, of course, when they talk about the fact that they speak on behalf of the working class, it really winds me up, because they don't. And the vast majority of working class voters are progressive. They just are. And the only reason why people think that the most important thing in all the world ever is the EU, we've got to get out of the EU, or trans women, rah, or it's migrants coming over, it's because that's what they're told by the billionaires who own the press. And if you're not paying attention, I know I make jokes about people being lazy and not thinking for themselves, but if you don't really pay attention to politics, you don't really talk about politics, because that's seen as a bit rude in this country. It's like talking about money. Don't talk about money or politics. I think that is something where the fash know that they can make inroads. Dominic Cummings, privately educated, of course, he identified 1 million voters who don't normally vote in elections, and he went after them for the Brexit vote, and he got votes from a large number of them. because he said, look, you can actually change things with this vote. He was wildly successful at getting them on board, getting people to vote against their own better interest. Dominic Cummings will be fine. He lives in a fucking castle, my friends. He can still go and live and work anywhere he likes around Europe. You can't. I can't, unless you've got an Irish passport. Got to ask permission now. Please, Spain, let me in. Please, Malta, let me in. Oh, only if you've got £5 million. Oh no, that's actually against the EU law. Forget that. Forget we said that. Forget we said that you could come here if you give us £5 million. Galifayman. Oh, one of the phrases I hate the most in the world is they say what we're all thinking. Although it's beat by common sense. Yeah, common sense. It's just common sense. It's common sense to want to bring back the Nazis. It's common sense to want to die cowering from an air raid in the basement in the Anderson shelter. Yeah, it's just common sense, isn't it? You can't say anything these days when they just did. I love the Brexit free of the fash. Free of the. I love the Brexit free of the fash. I don't really understand what you mean there. That's kind of like an oxymoron because Brexit is a fascist agenda. It's straight up fascism because they wanted to get workers in this country to lose their rights. And now they're going after the European Court of Human Rights because they want us all to lose our rights of freedom and dignity and the ability to say what the fuck we want. They want to take that from us. I mean, you'll be able to say what you want if what you want to say is horrible. If what you want to say is the stuff that the fash like to hear, like it's all the fault of migrants. Oh, my wife left me. Oh, it's all the fault of the migrants. Yeah. My dog died. It's all the fault of the trans women. Oh, yeah. You know, Ireland have had self-identification as trans since 2015. And do you know how many trans women have assaulted women in the women's toilets in Ireland since that date 10 years ago? None. Not one. We are creating a framework for laws in this country based on a myth, based on a crime that doesn't actually happen. But you know the fash love doing that. That's why we have to show our passport now when we go to vote. Because of the crime of people voting more than once, which never happened. The crime of people taking the piss and pretending to live in two places and voting twice. Never happens. It happens like once in every blue moon out of 1 million votes. It's less than one. So it's less than 1 in 1 million that happens. And yet they're like, oh no, we need to do something about this. This is the most important thing right now. Facing this country. I swear. My UK passport runs out in a couple of months when we have to go away in July. I'll have to meet the family on the other side of the passport control. God, yeah, it's painful, isn't it? Captain says, not good Kathy, he's blind from a stroke too because of an operation that was cancelled because Johnson messed up lockdowns. Well, yeah, I mean, do you want to talk about what happened to my family during lockdown? So my dad, like I said, suffering from dementia and his kidneys, he got a kidney infection and had to go into hospital. This was in September 2020. Okay, this is the height of the COVID pandemic. And he was in hospital. He had to stay there for a little extra time because of the COVID regulations. When he finally got out, we had to have carers coming 4 times a day to look after him. He was bedbound, he couldn't get out of bed, non-verbal. And the carers were a private company because someone's got to make money out of people's misery. Someone's got to make money out of disease and suffering. Someone's got to make money out of that, right? So a private company paid for by you, paid for by the taxpayer, comes in. And this private company, in an effort to save money, doesn't give its nurses coming in, the carers coming in, doesn't give them any PPE. They get a mask that they had to buy themselves. One of them came once with one of the visors. And I said, oh, did they give you that? She said, no, I had to buy it myself. And they're going from house to house, these people, right? These carers. Not their fault. Not their fault. I don't blame them. But the fact they had to buy their own masks, and I'm like, do you get tested each week for COVID? I'm like, no. Because back then you had to pay for your COVID test. If you were a company and you wanted people who were working for you to have COVID tests, you had to pay for it. And the company doesn't want to lose money. You know, the shareholders must be looked after. And within a few days, not even a week, less than a week, of these carers coming to care for me dad. My dad had COVID. My mum had COVID. I had COVID. And they must have taken that from house to house, to vulnerable person to vulnerable person. And people ask me why I fucking hate the Tories so much. I fucking hate the Tories because of everything they represent. Not just the performative cruelty, but the way that someone, a disgusting, horrible, nasty little pube like Matt Hancock can rise to the top just by dint of being born rich, just by dint of going to a posh private school, of which 93% of the Tory ministers went to posh private schools. Of course they did. Of course they did. I mean, it's the only way to travel, you know. And he got to that position when he knew absolutely fucking nothing about pandemics, about health, about medicine, about the NHS, about carers, about anything. Nothing. That's what he knew. Absolutely zero. If it had been anybody else, if it had been you or me, we would have done a better job. And you're thinking, well, I don't know anything about the NHS. I don't know anything about medicine. Yeah, doesn't matter. Because you would have taken the advice of the experts. But what's the big difference between you and the likes of Matt Hancock and Boris Johnson and Michael Gove, aside from the fact you went to a state school, not a private school? You didn't learn in your school that you were always right all of the time and that you were brilliant at everything. That's the downfall of this country, is people who are evidently incompetent. But instead of doing what I would do in that situation, in a situation where I felt uncomfortable and I didn't quite know what to do, I would take the advice of the experts, because at least I have, I'm quite, I am a little bit full of myself, but I have a little bit of humility, especially when it's something as important as people's lives, of people not getting COVID, which at the time was ripping through the population and killing tens of thousands of people. And there's these Bullingdon boys in charge of the country going, rah, 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 whatever I think is awesome. Let's put on Cheltenham. Let's have a footy match, Let's get everyone together in the stands. We'll let the virus rip through the population. As long as they feel as though, as long as they end on a rhetorical fucking flourish, then they've made their point. And the arrogance, that's the downfall. And that will be the downfall of all these fascist knobheads like Trump, because they're so arrogant and also so incompetent, and they won't listen to experts. And they put themselves in a position where the people who surround them are all yes men who go, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. And they never learn. You learn from your mistakes. That's the difference between you and a narcissist. When you think of like something that you did in the past that was like, you said something that you shouldn't have, or you did something that, you look back on, no one else remembers it. You're the only person who remembers that thing that happened. But God, you think about it a bit too often for it happening 20, 25 years ago. You think, oh shit, I really wish I'd done that. And you feel that feeling in your gut. That feeling you get of like embarrassment, of cringe at that thing that you did all those years ago. Oh God, I wish I hadn't said that. Oh yeah, I wish I could take that back. Oh, I wish I could. That's normal. That's your body and your brain telling you, hey, knobhead, that stupid thing you did? Don't do that again. Narcissists don't have that. Farage doesn't have that. Trump doesn't have that. Boris Johnson doesn't have that. Matt Hancock doesn't have that. It was beaten out of them in their posh private schools. I assume it was beaten out of them. Might be taken out in another way. I don't know. These are damaged people. And we've got to stop people from thinking that they've got the answers, because they demonstrably do not have the answers to anything. and why people went screaming last year all the way up to the election. Where's your fucking wall, Trump? Where's your wall? You said you were going to build a wall. Where's the wall? Show us the wall, Donny. Please show us the freaking wall that you were going to, no, actually you were going to build, but Mexico was going to pay for. Where is the wall? No one even seemed to mention it. All those debates that we did the watch parties for just didn't come up. Just didn't come up. Which is, you know, just all kinds of just ridiculous and terrifying and stupid. Just really, really stupid. So, yeah, I'm going to just have a quick look for this video here, if you bear with me. Led by donkeys. Led by donkeys. And there we go. They just put this up 14 minutes. Oh, that's just a picture led by donkeys. I want the video. Show me the video. Show me the video led by donkeys. Let's have a look. See that we're getting some sound out of this thing. No, we're not. Do you know why we're not getting any sound? Because I have turned the sound off on this site. On mute site. And now we will try again and see if, yes, we're getting sound. Okay, are you ready for this? Bam, 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 bam. Are you ready for this? You all ready? You all ready? Let's do it. This is Tank versus Tesla, courtesy of those beautiful bastards at Led by Donkeys. Let's go! Hell yeah!
My name is Ken Turner and I'm 98 years old and I've served in the British Army in World War II, as did this Sherman tank. I'm old enough to have seen fascism the first time around. Now it's coming back. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, is using his immense power to support the far right in Europe. And his money comes from Tesla cars. Well, I've got this message from Mr. Musk. We've crushed fascism before, and we'll crush it again.
Hell yeah.
So let's go, shall we? Let's go.
Oh, I love him. I love him. Go ahead, Ken. Do it. Do it, Ken. Take that. You swapped the car. Look at that. That's how you celebrate VE Day. World War II veteran crushing a fash machine. Love it. They get demonetized now for using the theme from The Great Escape. Anyway, so that's on a loop. It's on a loop. It's on a loop. Right. So thanks very much for watching that with me. That was just a delight. That was just an absolute delight, and big kudos to Led by Donkeys for setting that up, and obviously big kudos for Ken for doing that. That was just really, really, really satisfying. Happy VE Day, everyone. Happy VE Day. Vaguely, that's so damn good. We need more Ken in mainstream media. Ken versus Frog. Do you know what? That was the first thing I watched this morning. I didn't see it yesterday. It was the first thing I watched when I got up this morning, and it was nice. It was nice to actually have something to watch that wasn't because the first thing I do when I wake up, it's like I've got to work out what I'm going to talk about for an hour, and go to I usually go to the news websites, and I had a message. I think someone sent it to me on Facebook or something like that. They went, "I'll check this out," or on WhatsApp. And so that was the first thing I saw when I got this morning, and it really put a little skip in my stride. It really did. Right, I am going to do a little poll. Now, I don't know if you care, but I do a show on Thursdays called Hughes of the World. So what I want to know, right? Here we go. Is which country should I do next, right? So what I'm doing, Oh God, help if I spell it right. So, I'll just explain. Do I have to put a question in? Oh no, you don't have to ask a question. It's okay. Okay, so I do a show called Hughes of the World. Each week I go to a different country. I don't go to a different country. I talk about a different country. And so I started in Afghanistan many moons ago. And I'd stopped making it when I started doing runs over to Ukraine because I just it was a lot of work to put in to get these shows together. And not many people watch them, which is fair enough because it's not me making jokes about Farage. It's me talking about the history and the geography and the political context of all these different countries. I do a different country each week in the alphabetical order. Now, I've done all the A's and the B's and the C's. That took a long time. There's lots of countries beginning with A, B, and C. I've just done the D's. So we had Dominican Republic last week. So the D's are done. Denmark, Djibouti, Dominican Republic. So next up, we have the E's. Now, here's the question that I have for you, right? Just a bit of context. I have already done Côte d'Ivoire. I didn't do it as the Ivory Coast for I did it as Côte d'Ivoire because that's what it calls itself. And that's like the version that we have mostly. We don't call it the Ivory Coast, we call it Côte d'Ivoire. In the same way, East Timor is usually known as Timor-Leste, which is the Portuguese. It used to be a Portuguese colony, which is Portuguese. So, my question to you is, should the next episode be East Timor, E-A-S-T, or should it be Ecuador? Should it be Ecuador, right? That's the question. Should it be East Timor or Ecuador? I personally, and I don't want to sway this one way or another, but I personally think it should be Ecuador because then I'll come to East Timor when I get to Timor-Leste. But it's up to you. I'll give an argument for both sides. When I was in East Timor, I had the pleasure of meeting Jose Ramos Horta, the president of the country, the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize in the mid-90s. And got to meet him, which was nice. Ecuador, I've got some really cool stories about Ecuador, and I've been to the Equator Monument there where they celebrate the scientists, Louis Gaudin and Jean... Charles de la Condamine and others who measured the equator, measured an arc of the meridian of the equator in the 1730s, which I think is a really exciting expedition, the first international scientific expedition. And it's the reason why Ecuador is a separate country from the rest of Peru. At the time it was Peru, but after this expedition they went, no, we are Ecuador, named after the equator. So arguments for both of them, but I think just being Poindexter for a moment, I do think that Ecuador should be next, and I should leave East Timor until I get to Timor-Leste. So I'm going to start the poll now. So vote! Everyone can vote. Oh, it comes up really small. Look at that. Oh, this is why I don't do polls. Look at that. It comes up too small on the screen. There's a bunch of CSS that I've got to put into this to make the words big enough for you to read. Ecuador, says Dave Skelly. People are, 100% Ecuador so far. That's cool. Yeah, do Ecuador first. To be fair, at the time slot, stops me watching Hughes of the World. I would struggle with most afternoon streams. Says, you can watch it afterwards. East Timor is officially called the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste, according to Google. So why should it be a D country? No, E. The first of the E countries. I finished. That's what I'm saying. So I think that it should be Timor-Leste. Ecuador. Presumably there'll be a crossover on the two Timors, so best to have them Timor adjacent. There aren't two Timors. West Timor is not a country. It's part of Indonesia. West Timor is where they ended up after the mutiny on the Bounty. Do you remember the mutiny on the Bounty? It's where they ended up. They ended up in West Timor after days at sea. The officers of the Bounty, led by Captain Bligh, who managed to get all but one of them all the way from French Polynesia to West Timor with no map, no sextant or oxtant, no way of knowing except celestial navigation, putting his hand in the water, seeing what the temperature was, seeing which way the current was going, and memory. And they managed to get from a little launch. These are the boats that they use. So you'd have your big galleon. They would sit at anchor out in the sea. and then you'd get on a launch, you get on a smaller boat, and you'd go to the shore. They were in a launch, and they were expected to die. I mean, the mutineers of the Bounty expected them. They wouldn't survive. And he only lost one man. The rest of them survived the trip to, I forgot the name of the place. It's like Kula or something. Do you know what? I know you probably don't care, but I'm just going to look it up. Well, West Timor, because I'm kind of interested in Timor Barat. Let's have a look. Kupang. That was it. That was the place. Kupang. He ended up in Kupang in East Timor, which is really cool. Sorry, West Timor. Just separate. Okay, so we can get into all that. We can get into the war with Indonesia another time. We'll talk about Ecuador tonight, I think. We have 92% say Ecuador, so we're going to go with Ecuador. Methinks. Okay, so we'll end that poll there. Thank you very much. Thanks for helping out there, everyone. The country was named after the equator. Yes, it was. So the final results are Ecuador, 92%. East Timor, 7%. That is emphatic. So we're going to be doing a show tonight about Ecuador. Really recommend it. Like 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock. We'll have maps and we'll have some footage from when I went there. Ooh, well. Could have some footage from the Odyssey expedition. In fact, I do have some really good footage of the capital, Quito. Ooh, the old town. Yeah, so I'll dig out the footage from Quito from 2009. And it also has some earlier footage from when I was there the first time I visited Ecuador. Most of the countries in the world I've been to twice, by the way. Over 100 of them I've been to twice. But people go, oh, you didn't really see these places. You were just passing through. I'm like, yeah, because I was on a race. I was trying to do a race around the world. I wasn't there to stop to see the sights. It was a challenge. It wasn't a tourist thing where I mucked around for years on end. But the first time I went was in 2002, and that's when I went to the actual Ecuador the Equator Monument, which is a couple miles north, I think, of Quito, the capital. And I also went on a railway when I was there, which was like so freaking cool. And I'll show you the railway because it was one of the last railways where you could sit on top of the train. You could sit on top of the train. You can't do that anymore. I don't know if there's anywhere in the world that still lets you sit on top of the train. For reasons, quite, pertinent reasons, people kept falling off. Or worse. That video has made my morning, says Gallifreyan Man. I'm glad it did, Gallifreyan Man. It's put a spring in my step as well, definitely. Okay, pop into the BIM podcast to say hello beforehand, says Billy Kershaw. Yes, I would recommend that. I'm going to head off now. I know I'd usually go over a lot more than this, but I've got stuff to do today. Hopefully I've got some stuff. I think it's going to rain. I was going to do some outside stuff today. It's going to do some building. I'll do some joinering, but it looks like it's going to rain. But you can do some joinering. You can join the webs. You can join the channel if you want, if it's available. See those little roses by people's names like Martin and Saz, Veg Pie. They've got a little rose, and Kate Smith. They got a little rose next to the name. If you're one of them, join the channel if you can, if it's available. If not, sorry. But if you are a joiner, a rejoiner, if you are a member of the channel, if you are a member of Patreon, if you you just like someone who just watches this channel and you enjoy it, if you've left a message or not, please hit the like button. It's really important. Just hit the like button so that you like this show, and we get to make more of them because we feed the algorithm. Feed it. And the more this video and videos like it get recommended on other people's feeds, the more people will watch, and the more I'll be able to do it. If that's what you want, I don't know. If you want to shut me up, maybe press the unlike. It's all interaction. It all works. You can give me an unlike, a dislike. It doesn't matter. One or the other is good. But I'm just going to say thank you so much to everyone, especially Ori for that amazing, insane £50 mega chat. Thank you so much. You are literally the best. As this animation now will say. Thank you very much. That's for Ori. Thank you to everybody else who dropped a super chat in as well. It's really kind of you. Thanks to everyone who just joined in the chat. Thanks to everyone who voted in the poll. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And until next time, I will say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.